This is Harrison Parker, Derbyshire Academy left-handed batter. Pretty destructive, bit of a maverick with his shots, as you can see. We've been working with Harrison for over 2 years now, and it's great to see him improving over that period of time. What you're going to follow along with today is the testing session that we did prior to Christmas. We'd previously tested with Harrison in July 2024, September 2024, but since that period we've been doing 2 sessions a week face-to-face, as well as other work he's been doing away from those face-to-face sessions. So he's had a 3-month block where he's been working really hard on especially his strength work and his movement quality. So it's going to be exciting to see what results we can produce. What you just saw was his warm-up and mobility stuff that we do at the start of every single session, whether it's testing or not. Then I always like to make sure the player understands why they're doing what they're doing, so we'll always have a chat through what the session's going to entail in that day. Following up the mobility work in our warm-up, we'll always do some form of activation. We'll always look to switch on the calves, glutes, core, and really look around kind of getting the Achilles fired up as well and ready to go. This little circuit that we're doing just here is kind of hill walks, plantar walks on your toes, and then into some pogo variations, some hopping variations, getting him ready to jump and land nice and safely. But also in this warm-up section, we do it twice a week, so it's a really good opportunity to get in some additional work before the kind of main session that we always do. With Harrison's testing, what we're going to go through is we're going to go through jump testing, sprint speed testing, strength testing, upper body and lower body. And once we've got our warm-up done, I'm going to show you the tests that we did and how he kind of improved through those. As we're just kind of finishing up our warm-up, we'll then go into some movement patterns where we're focusing on our lunges and hinge pattern so that we can go straight into the session and we're ready to go. I'll always ask Harrison to do some form of potentiation at the end of his warm-up. That will be some form of jumping and landing, which we just chose a hop and hold variation here. And you can see me then setting up the warm-up game in the background. So at the end, in our face-to-face sessions, in every face-to-face session, we'll have some form of game involved. One, because we are focused on a little bit of athletic development and some movement patterns, but also because it's fun. And it's nice to add that competitive element into the warm-ups. It only takes 5 minutes. This warm-up game is a slight variation on single leg tennis, which is a very common game that I play with our players. But Harrison normally beats me at that, so I had to make the court a little bit bigger, change the rules of the game so that the coach can win, because that's very important to all coaches in games that they play. And I did manage to take the victory against Harrison despite him playing some nice little shots in this variation of hand tennis. But especially with Harrison and other athletes, I always find that actually a game is what gets them going. The warm-up should get them going, but the game is what really gets them going. So now we're into our testing. On his left foot, you can see there's a little device, there's an output sensor. That basically tells us how high Harrison will be jumping. What you're going to see in the next slide, so in this set, he actually set a new PB, so he got 39 centimetres off the floor. In July 2024, his best score was 36.3 centimetres, so he's had a 7.5% increase in just a few months. This visual is really helpful to show you so this is a screen recording of my phone. What you can see is Harrison and I, so the coach and the player, is getting kind of live feedback on how high they're jumping. So after each rep, it will give him a score. This was Harrison's second set. As you can see, he starts getting a little bit tired, so he's below that 39 PB, and his last couple of reps were very low, so he's kind of fatigued out. I always like in testing our players to kind of hit that ceiling. I don't want there to be anything left in the tank just in case they can set a PB. The next test we do is then a squat jump, so a slight variation on counter movement jump. The counter movement jump, you dip and jump in one go. This, you have that pause. So the counter movement jump shows more of your explosive strength, whereas the squat jump is more kind of your brute force strength. With Harrison's makeup as an athlete, but also what we've been working on, which is strength, I expected this one to improve more than counter movement jump, and that was correct. So he improved from 29.9 centimetres to 34.1 centimetres, which was a 14% increase. That then took us into the reactive strength index, which is a drop jump off this 30 centimetre box. The goal with this test is to spend as little time on the floor as possible, jump as high as possible. In July, Harrison's scores were 1.61 on an average of 6 attempts. In December, so in this attempt now, his average was 1.72, which is a 6.8% increase. What this test shows is basically how explosive you are and your reactive strength, so how quickly you can get onto the floor and get off the floor as quickly as possible. It's going to really transfer well to batting because it's going to show that he's got a high rate of force development. 1.72 isn't the best score in the world, but it's something that we'll definitely see Harrison improve after Christmas as we focus more on power and speed. We then go into our 20-metre sprint. So where we train in Sheffield, this really is far from ideal as kind of a 20-metre sprint track as such, but we still get it in. His score actually marginally decreased, so his best score in July was 3.02, but in December it's 3.14, so it's still pretty quick. So we're not overly fussed, and also the goal hasn't been to focus on his sprint speed as a primary target, but after Christmas that will be something that we definitely bring in. The issue with this testing wise is the floor they don't have the best grip where we are, and also at the end of the track is actually a road. So as you can see, Harrison kind of pulls out at 18-19 metres. This is a 20-metre distance, so he's not fully going for it, I don't think. So I'm not overly worried about his scores. What we use to test here is a 3-lap timing device, so the little yellow markers, and then there's basically something that we pop on we strap around Harrison's waist, and that's going to tell us how quickly he gets from A to B. The 3-lap markers are very good, and when we kind of so in indoor schools when we go and train, I find that because the surface is very consistent, we see more consistent results. Next up, we then get into our strength testing. So off camera, we did a max pull-up test with Harrison, and he went from a max of 5 pull-ups in September to a max of 8 in December, which is a 60% increase. And then we are now doing a max push-up test, so seeing how many push-ups he could do in 60 seconds. In September, he managed to do 22 in a minute, and in December, so in this attempt, he did 29, which is a 32% increase, which is really quite impressive. And then the final test we then did was a side plank hold, so seeing how long he could hold a side plank for. In September, he scored 78 and 76 seconds, and then in December, 92 and 84. So respectively, it's an 18% and 10% increase either side, which is really good to see because that then obviously shows his kind of core strength is improving over time, as well as his push-ups and pull-ups showing his upper body strength. So overall, as kind of an athletic picture, what we showed is Harrison's lower body explosive strength is improving, his reactive strength is improving, his upper body and core strength is improving. Sprint speed will come. Speed always comes after strength and power. But overall, you can physically see that he's a bigger, stronger athlete. He now doesn't look like a boy, he looks like a man. And yeah, really excited to carry on working Harrison in this kind of 3-month block we've now got before the season. We're going to switch the focus more from strength to power and speed, which will be great to see the improvements that you can make. And yeah, a little bit of a different style of video today, but if you enjoyed that and found that helpful or have any comments or questions, then drop it in the comments below and I'll pick them up.